Hello everyone, I'm Shrestha and today we have with us Shabana Azmi.
Hi.
Hi Shabana, welcome to London. Shabana is here with us for the screening of her play Broken Images. I'll begin by asking, you mentioned that it's a very technically challenging play and it's riding completely on your shoulders, but you play the role of two sisters. So we get it's technically challenging, but I want to ask, what was the first thing which attracted you to the script? It's of course written by Girish Karnad, one of the finest playwrights in India. So what attracted you?
Obviously the writing, because Girish Karnad, like you said, is really one of our foremost writers, and it has drama, it has turns and twists, it comes with surprise, and it was technically challenging, so I just grabbed the part.
It also plays with the politics of language and identity, which is very pertinent, not just in India but everywhere across the world. Correct me if I'm wrong, the protagonist Manjula, she writes a play in English which becomes a bestseller, but she is a Hindi playwright. Do you feel...
She's a writer, she's not a playwright, and she's not written a play. Manjula is a Hindi short story writer who has not met with much success. But suddenly she's written a novel in English that makes her world famous. And she has a younger sister, Marling, who's physically challenged, and whom Manjula has brought home for the last 6 years before she passed away, and really nurtured her like her own daughter. But then it gets revealed that actually Marling had a relationship with her husband.
Right. Very complex, both of them, and you mentioned that you don't know which side were you on, because at times, there is a conflict of interest. How did you decide? Because you've already done 100 shows in India before. Is there a time when you say, oh, I think do you change, your interpretation of the script?
I think that's the beauty of the writing. It's the beauty of Girish Karnad, that he has written it in a way where it is nebulous enough for the actor to make a choice in different performances. It's not a fixed choice that I've made through rehearsals. But it just happens sometimes that I find myself empathizing with Manjula more and sometimes with Marling more. And that in itself is a challenge, because it's a discovery each time.
How do you motivate yourself, because it's so challenging and it's a one-hour play completely riding again on your shoulders, you're the only one. How do you motivate yourself each time before a performance? Is it like you close your eyes and you can go out and you know at the back of your hand, or do you every time see a different nuance?
Firstly, I do an entire run-through just before the play, because it's technically challenging. But what is very important in live performances is you shouldn't try and imitate a successful performance. So let's say if I was satisfied with the performance I did yesterday, and I merely try to imitate it the next day, it just won't work, because the truth has to be the truth of the moment as created within that hour. And that's why it remains a challenge each time, which is different from cinema. In cinema you get the choice of retake, which you don't get in theatre. But also in cinema, you have the benefit of the magnification of the lens, of the camera. So your face can be in close-up, and all you do is a little flicker with your eyes, and it can mean a lot. In theatre, you have to use much more of your body language. So technically also, there are challenges. But I think for an actor, because you get the opportunity through rehearsals to create a part, and it's not in fragments, then I think it's interesting. But there are challenges in both mediums.
And I'll ask you, what was the first play? Like, your mother is a very famous stage actress, Shabana Azmi. Do you remember the first play you watched? Well, and obviously I'm guessing that did you go and watch one of her plays? you're somebody who worked in all genres, be it television, theatre, as well as films. So I'd like to hear a little bit about what was your first play you watched, and what impression did it have on you?
You know, I was just 4 months old when my mother would strap me on her back and take me for rehearsals to Prithvi Theatre. She was working with them, and my father was a member of the Communist Party. He was all the money that he earned went to the party, and used to get just 40 rupees a month, so my mother had to go out and work. So, and also during my vacations, my mother used to take me with her on tours. So I literally grew up with the smell of grease paint in my nostrils, so to speak. So I have an affinity for theatre from the very beginning. I was only 3 years old when I was in school, and I was performing on the nursery rhyme, "Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon," and I was playing the cow. And instead of jumping over the moon, I happened to jump on the moon. At which point, the moon got up and gave me one tight slap, and I gave her one tight slap, and the curtains had to be brought down, and it was predicted, all right, this lady is going to be an actor.
Absolutely. I loved your speech yesterday at the House of the Commons, changing tack slightly. You mentioned about gender identity and individuals not being boxed, not viewing them as binary. Did it come, from your personal experience? Did you ever felt slotted in and pigeonholed in your, professional career? And
no, I wouldn't say that it's being boxed in a particular point. I think there is a historical context in which I am saying, because all of us are citizens in a democracy and are cognizant of the fact that we have the freedom of speech to say what's on our mind. But there is an attempt the world over to try and start shrinking that space and fixing people into binaries of either you are with us or you're against us. And any criticism of the state is seen as anti-national or dubbed as anti-national, to frighten you into submission, to frighten you into towing the line, to frighten you into curbing your freedom of expression. I feel that the forces that are trying to do this may not actually believe it, but they are doing it for narrow political gains. And the most important thing is for civil society to put up a very robust resistance to any such attempt, because for me the strength of a democracy is her pluralism, and it cannot be that you box me into your idea of what is right. I think it's important that we resist.
Absolutely. And do you feel actors, performers, artists have a role, as progressive and liberals? Because with the rise of populism, what should there be?
I can't determine for all artists. I grew up in an atmosphere where it was believed that art should be used as an instrument for social change, because it was believed that art has the ability to create a climate of sensitivity in which it is possible for change to occur. So coming from my background, it was only natural that I would do that. But there are other artists who feel that the purpose of art is only to entertain, and I don't have any problem with that. I think that the purpose of art is to provoke, to excite, to question.
No, I completely agree with you. I just raised that question because coming back to Hindi cinema or Bollywood, there has been a lot of censorship. But do you feel, as an industry, it should stand up? It should be more vocal for its own interest?
See, freedom of expression is very, very important for an artist, and for the health of a society. It should be non-negotiable. Except that I don't think that there are complete absolutes in freedom. But the attempt at the moment to try and silence voices. It makes people in the industry very vulnerable because a lot of money rides on these films. It's not like a painting wherein a painter has just used a canvas and put paints, and that's all you can lose. It is this kind of, and that's why people in the film industry become very soft targets. And what is happening today is that any group of people from anywhere, just 10 of them, can get up and protest and say that this particular film, without even watching the film, and saying that it offends my sensibility. And I feel that you have a right to say that, but you don't have a right to indulge in lawlessness. You should go within the confines of law, because you have a right to dissent, but there are fixed ways of how you should express that dissent.
Okay, thank you. I completely agree with you, but thank you so much, Shabana Azmi. We are running out of time, and I wish you all the best for your play, and we'll all be there to support you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.